I started in the 56th RTT in January of 1972, actually January 10th, and graduated April 29th, 72. Broke in, went to Holden, met the captain, O'Connell was his name, was stationed at C3 Brookfield, 867-2912, I can still remember the number. Was stationed there for 2 years, and then was transferred to C5 Sturbridge, 347-3352, I think. And after that, in 75, I went undercover in narcotics. Did that for 3 years, about 4 years in the DA's office from 78 to 82 or so. Might be off a little bit. And then I went to SSU, Charlie Henderson's group, where we did organized crime, bookmakers, anything that was considered organized, which was, we did a lot of wiretaps and things along those lines. But as I progressed, I made rank corporal, buck sergeant, went back on the road for patrol supervisor, and then went to the AG's office as a buck sergeant. Jim Shannon was the AG at that time. Stayed there for a while, and then I moved on to, they started a new unit, and with the experience I had in narcotics and stuff, they put me in with my old partner, Pat Greeny, God rest his soul, starting a narcotic inspection unit, making sure all the evidence was up and okay. And then in 1990, I was at the job one day working, and I had some chest pains, and went to the doctor, and I had a myocardial infarction, otherwise known as a heart attack. So I retired just, I want to say about 30 days short of 20 years, and just prior to the consolidation. And I retired a staff sergeant, and I think it might be a bit of MSP history. I might be wrong, but I think I'm the last staff sergeant to retire before the consolidation. There might be a discrepancy there, I'm not sure, but I thought I was. And actually Ray Ilg got promoted because I retired on the what they used to call the heart bill. They just didn't want you back on the job. You were damaged goods. My first memory of the state police, both my brothers were, I came from a family of 7. I was the youngest. My father was from Ireland, my mother was from Newfoundland, but Irish. They settled in Dorchester and then moved out to the suburbs. But my older brothers, both of them were 82nd Airborne, and my brother, Franny, became a native policeman after he left Boston College for a while and got out of the service. He played hockey at BC. He became a policeman in Natick, and then he had gone to the State Police Academy, and that was my first taste of anything state police. And then one of my 4 sisters got married, and she married a guy who I just visited the other day. He's 93, Staff Sergeant Joe White. And I live with them because both my parents died before I was in the 9th grade. So I kind of jumped around brothers, sisters, but Joe White kind of took me under his arm. And when I became a trooper, he pinned my badge on. So I went to visit him the other day, and I live in Texas now. And you know, he's getting up there, but he's a good man. Yes, I didn't grow up wanting to be a cop. I was a marketing and advertising major in college, and I thought I'd get into something in the retail business or something. And then with my circumstances, etc., and I went out to Fort Ord in California for about 7 months, training in the Army Reserves, etc., and came back and I had a letter waiting for me that I had been accepted to the academy after a test. In 1969, I believe, I took the test at the old armory on Commonwealth Ave. And so I said, oh boy, I could use a job. So it wasn't one of these guys that wanted to, you know, this is my life, I want to be that. It was more, I needed a job. And you know, I look back on it now and it was $9,500 a year. It's starting in 1972, and you got paid once a month. You could take a draw check, and you lived on it, you know. And then I finally went out and I had my own apartment, and life was good. Then I was a young trooper, and they started letting us take cruisers home. And I was a young trooper breaking in. And some of the older guys, it was tough, but after a few knockdown dragouts with some bad guys, they liked me. And I was 23 years old as a young trooper breaking in. So when I retired at 42, 43, that gave me just about 20 years. And then I moved in other directions and other careers. But I loved the state police, worked with a lot of guys, great guys that aren't with us anymore. Mike Shanahan broke me in undercover, Jimmy Jajuga, Dick McDonald, all those guys up out of the Andover narcotics section were just wonderful. And then I went to the DA's office, worked with a lot of detective lieutenants, but the one good guy was, they were all good guys, was George McGarity, and God rest his soul, and also Staff Sergeant Bruce Latham was a great friend and a great mentor. And I worked with a lot of other troopers that aren't with us anymore, Rod Hendrigan. You know, the goes on and on and on. I went to school with George Hanna. He was a friend and his whole family at St. Pat's. George was about 2 years ahead of me, but he became a trooper after me, and we used to play racquetball together at racket time in Framingham. And his father was a police officer with my older brother at Natick PD. And a side note, my older brother retired, got run over as a young patrolman, and became a very successful lawyer, went back to school, and died young at 63. So, yeah, the state police was a great job, great opportunity, and I miss the guys and the gals I worked with in the AG's office. There was some great Carol Harding, and geez, some of them I can't think of the names, and forgive me for that. But there was some great stories, and one of the biggest things that always bothered me was in April 12th, 1974, I was on patrol with Al Exarchopoulos, one of the best. And, you know, we broke up a brawl at 2 in the morning in front of a bar called the Keg, I think it was. And I got nicked in the head, you know, from a shot across the street. Well, jumping ahead, it was pellet gun, BB gun, whatever, but it took 17 stitches to close up. They made some arrests that night or the next day or something. It was a tough case. I wasn't in any shape. I got home and got a ride home from John Ebert from the hospital. The captain at the time came to see me in the hospital at 4 or 5. His name was Bodan Bolduc. I remember him. He had been a B-17 pilot in World War II or something. Wonderful guy. He was just ready to retire, because when I went on the state police and when I was ready to retire before the consolidation, the retirement was mandatory 50. So at 42, 43, when I was said, hey, you've got to go, and you know, we're not going to let you back because of the heart and all that, you know, it made it easier to go because you knew you only had 5, 6, 7 years left. So, you know, henceforth now they've changed it, and I've heard some troopers have stayed a lot longer than that. But, you know, at the time, you do what you had to do, and it always bothered me that case, I was never really, with the shooting, that I was never really kept informed of what was going on, and that it was part of it was dismissed. And Yeah, I never really talked about it. And some guys that I worked with would tell you I never mentioned it, and I didn't. I guess you'd call that I buried it away. But as latter years came on, and I have a letter here that Al Exahopoulos sent to my daughter in Germany when they lived there. Her husband's a career Army officer. And it was quite riveting, and maybe someday it'll be here to look at. And it kind of explains everything, and God rest Al. I tried to get him out of Mexico, sent some money to his family, but didn't work. But I've had a good career, good life. Just happened to be in this area to see elderly sisters and retired Staff Sergeant Joe White, who's, getting up there.